Chapter 11, Getting into Big Trouble. Large and small spiderwebs intertwined messily between trees, turning this area into a small labyrinth. In this labyrinth, any form of panic would bring him straight into the spiderwebs. Once he was stuck on these extremely adhesive spiderwebs, he would be unable to break free. At the same time, the struggle would attract the spiders lurking in the dark. They would first spray a dissolving toxin onto their prey and then wait a while for the prey to completely dissolve into a pile of goo before calmly enjoying them. Roy had observed the process of their predation before. He also knew that there was a cluster of spiders and that they were social creatures. Once a spider appeared, a group of them might be near. Through observation, Roy found that these spider demons could only be regarded as ordinary monsters. Their intelligence was not high, and their living habits were rather fixed. Other than their numbers, they were not that difficult to deal with for Roy. He held the Colt python in his right hand and picked up a long branch from the ground with his left hand. When he came to a spiderweb, he used the branch to poke and shake it, simulating the effect of an entangled prey. Before long, a spider demon the size of a millstone appeared quietly from a tree. Since it was a monster, its size was naturally not comparable to that of ordinary spiders. Its strange patterns and hair made it look extremely hideous and ugly. It climbed onto tree trunks with its hooked limbs and made rustling sounds. Its huge swollen belly and the numerous black eyes on its forehead made it look creepy even though Roy knew it had poor eyesight. These spider demons were quite cunning. They would usually judge the size of their prey by the vibrations that traveled through the spiderweb. If the vibration was strong, it meant that the prey was large and not to be messed with. Moreover, there was a possibility of it breaking free from the spiderweb. In such a situation, they would not show up. However, if the vibration was relatively weak, it meant that the prey was not too big and unlikely to struggle free from the spiderweb. Such prey could be slaughtered. The vibration that Roy made through the branch was naturally incomparable to the vibrations of real entangled prey. So although the spider demon appeared, it was puzzled and did not immediately crawl to the web. However, Roy only needed it to appear. Once it appeared in his line of sight, Roy raised the Colt in his hand, took aim, and shot. Boom! The giant body of the spider demon was an easy target. Roy's shot hit its head directly, punching a big hole in it. The spider demon hissed painfully and fell from the tree. However, it did not die immediately. Its entire body and limbs were still twitching and trembling. Roy stepped forward and stood in front of the spider demon. He raised his tail and punctured the place where he shot it as fast as lightning. He stirred around and turned the spider demon's brain into mush. The limbs of this spider demon contracted, and it died completely. A tiny soul emerged from its body, and Roy grabbed it. If the soul of the four-eyed demon was as big as a table tennis ball, then the soul of this spider demon was only as big as a soybean. It was even smaller than those of the monsters that Roy had caught. Roy could not figure out what was going on, but he still put that soul away. After storing it away, the description of this soul given by the system interface was, low-quality soul fragments, 1. Not a soul, but a soul fragment? Roy was a little stunned. What does that mean? No one could give him an explanation. He pushed the thought aside with doubts in his mind and turned to walk toward another spiderweb. Every spiderweb had a spider demon lying in wait. These spider demons would not go into each other's areas, so there was no threat once he resolved the spider demon lying in wait. Roy's original plan was to burn these spiderwebs, but then he thought of how these spiderwebs without their spider demons might help him block intruders from breaking into his cave. He could use them as security, so he left them. As long as he could clean up all the spider demons, the spiderwebs they left behind could become protective barriers for his cave. This was the only contribution they could provide to him. With this in mind, Roy started to clean up every spiderweb that appeared in his line of sight. He would first lure the spider demons with the vibrations and then shoot them down with his gun. This cleaning process actually turned out to be rather easy. However, later on, he realized that it was too much of a waste of his bullets. As such, he looked around and found an insect monster that was just entangled in a spiderweb. This insect monster looked like a big beetle. After it was entangled, the spider demon guarding that spiderweb appeared in no time and climbed onto the spiderweb without hesitation. At that moment, Roy, who had been standing below and waiting, swung his tail. The triangular blade tail directly penetrated the spider demon's head before it could bite into that insect monster. Roy's modification to his body was wise, and this strange-looking tail displayed its great killing efficiency. There was no need to waste his bullets, frugal and environmentally friendly. After killing the spider demon, Roy extended his tail, opened the triangular blade, gently grabbed the beetle, and pulled it off the spiderweb. This beetle monster did not possess much intelligence, so it did not appreciate Roy's help of pulling it out of danger at all. When Roy's tail grabbed it, it actually opened its mouth to bite his tail, acting rather fierce. However, was it possible for it to bite through Roy's tail? Glancing at it coldly, Roy grabbed it with his tail, walked to another spiderweb, and then flicked it hard, throwing the beetle onto another spiderweb. The beetle began to struggle again. Soon, the spider demon guarding this spiderweb appeared. Roy's baiting plan using this beetle monster was a success, and he successfully solved dozens of spider demons this way. Roy only killed the beetle monster with his tail when it no longer had the strength to continue struggling, and he stored this little soul with a grin. The souls from the spider demons were all soul fragments without exception. The harvested souls of this massacre were, in fact, very pitiful. Not only was the quality low, but they were also very small. Just as Roy was feeling depressed about his harvest, he found the line above his head being blocked by something, and a huge shadow appeared on the ground. At the same time, a voice came. "Caught you. You mean little bug?" This voice was strange. It clearly sounded very strange to his ears, but Roy could fully understand the meaning it conveyed. It was as though the voice seemed to be acting directly on his soul. What was even weirder was that Roy immediately understood what was going on when he heard the voice. "This is the demon language?" Roy's response was not slow even though he was stunned. He kicked the ground violently and somersaulted, rolling out of the range of the shadow. Boom! The place where he just stood was immediately attacked just as he rolled away. A huge black shadow with an unparalleled momentum directly hit the ground. A large amount of black mud splashed around, and a pit appeared in the ground. Roy climbed up and saw the attacker's appearance clearly. It was a bigger spider demon. However, unlike the spider demons he had killed earlier, what he was facing now was a half-human, half-spider female spider demon. The lower part of her waist was a large spider abdomen, and her upper body was humanoid, naked but covered with the hair of the spider, which prevented any thoughts of temptation. She had many eyes on the top of her head, and a tongue-like tongue slipped out. Only the pair of curved demon horns on her head showed her demon status. Coupled with the 8 limbs on both sides of her entire body stood like a tank in front of Roy. Looking at the half-human, half-spider thing in front of him, Roy could not help but suck in a cold breath. He knew he was in deep shit. Judging from the size of his opponent, it was probably an adult demon and at least at the top of the low rank. It was unknown if it had advanced to a middle-rank demon. Roy finally understood why he had only obtained soul fragments after killing those spider demons. The reason was simple. Those spider demons could only be regarded as clones of the spider queen in front of him. The reason why they lived in clusters was not because of their biological habits but because they were simply tools for the spider queen. The spider queen sensed it when those soul fragments started disappearing during Roy's hunt, so she found Roy through them and came to kill him. Chapter 12, Intelligence is a Good Thing. Logically speaking, Roy's first instinct facing a sudden plot change with a hidden boss should have been to run away. But he did not know why the first thought that popped into his head when he looked at that hideous spider queen was, "Fuck, I'll swallow my dung and commit suicide if my future wife looks like this." When he thought of how he could become a bachelor demon for a life because he could not accept their aesthetics, Roy felt a deep sorrow within. Then he turned around and ran. It was impossible for him not to run. He knew that he could not deal with this spider queen just by looking at her size, and he would really be stuck if those spider demons besieged him. "You are too treacherous. Why would you, an adult demon, come to be neighbors with me, a young demon, and still use clones?" When she saw Roy running away, the spider queen did not become angry but instead burst out in ridiculing laughter. This was exactly what she wanted. As a demon that had hunted thousands of prey, she knew how to make the souls of her prey more delicious. Terror, fear, pain. If the prey could maintain these emotions, the quality and taste of the soul might even improve after it dies. This little demon in front of her was low rank without a doubt. Although he looked a little strange, and she was unable to tell which bloodlines he had, the spider queen did not mind at all. In fact, at least 30% of all her prey were little demons like this. Unlike those inferior monsters, these intelligent little demons were by far the easiest to produce high-quality souls. Just put pressure on them and let them feel terror and fear. Therefore, she was not in a hurry when she saw Roy running away. She stretched her limbs and took her time giving chase. "Give up. You can't escape. How dare you steal from the greater Ania? Your only outcome is to become food in my stomach. I'll bite off your tail, rip off your head, and tear your body into pieces. You will wail in pain and beg me to kill you as soon as possible." While chasing Roy, Arania yelled in a strange accent with the demon language, portraying the explicit miserable death that Roy would face when he died in a bid to increase the fear in Roy's heart. Arania continued advancing while spelling out these horrible endings, constantly using her tank-like body to knock down the trees along the way, creating an unmatched momentum. She was chasing and teasing Roy like a cat would a mouse, and even the spider demons that gathered under her command did not completely block his route. Instead, they were like hounds, driving this prey that was Roy around. However, she did not know that Roy was not as terrified as she thought. The success of the first part of his body modification plan did not inflate his ego. He knew that a tail was not going to make him invincible, so when he was planning to clear out the spider demons, he had given some thought about what to do if he was under siege. Nonetheless, he had not expected the existence of a hidden boss like the Spider Queen. Therefore, Roy immediately started to execute his plans when the unexpected enemy that was Arania appeared. He started running along the route that he came from, shuttling in between the gaps of the spiderwebs. These spiderwebs had lost the spider demons that were guarding them, so there was no problem as long as he did not get stuck on them. Arania's slow chase elated Roy. Of course, he could feel that it was the other party's way of toying with him, but that made him even happier. After passing the territory of the spider demons and their spiderwebs, Roy no longer needed to dodge while running. He aimed directly for the southwest direction and ran with all his might. Spider Queen Arania had yet to find anything wrong, thinking that this little demon was merely fleeing in panic. However, Arania realized something was wrong once they were out of the woods. This little demon seems to be heading in the direction of the lava river? That's right. The place Roy chose to escape to was in the direction of the lava river. He had seen the river when he first entered the underground world from his hatching place, so it was a given that he could remember it. There were many dangers along the route from his cave to the river, but he was being hunted right now and could not give it much thought. Arania immediately became angry when she became aware of Roy's intentions. She did not know what Roy could do by fleeing to the lava river. The reason why she was angry was that she realized that Roy was not as afraid as she thought he would be. This feeling sucked, her expectations fell short. Surround and kill him. In anger, Arania decided not to continue with her game. Her soul fragments were still on him. Arania would really regret to her death if he were to escape. When they received the order, the spider demons immediately accelerated and started to surround Roy from behind. Roy discovered that the spiders were approaching him and launching themselves at him, so he used his tail to whip them back. That steel-like tail caused them serious injuries when it knocked into them, and it was difficult for the spiders to get close for the time being. After all, it was no longer their territory, and without their spiderwebs, the spider demons did not have a good way to stop Roy. Roy changed direction continuously as well. The spider demons had no problems moving forward and backward with their 8 legs, but they were not that good with lateral movement. They were spiders, not crabs. Arania also realized that it was a big mistake not to surround this little demon with her spiders when she could. But it was slightly difficult for them to give chase now, so she went into battle herself. Now that there were no trees blocking like in the forest, Arania could increase her speed and move her limbs. She even crushed a few spider demons that were blocking her way and caught up from behind. Die. Damn you. Arania growled at Roy. However, Roy responded to her with a bullet. During the chase, Roy twisted his body and fired at Arania. Her huge body made an easy target for Roy, and as a result, the shot hit Arania directly in her stomach. The bullet failed to penetrate her body, but it made her abdomen shrink and her footsteps pause. Pain. That damn little demon seems to have shot something that really hurt me. Arania roared angrily and accelerated again, but right after she started moving again, 2 loud bangs came. Her body was shot again. Roy delayed Arania in this way, and he finally saw that lava river a while later. He turned back and shot all the bullets in his gun before he began running along the riverbank. Ha! Despicable little bug. Do you want to jump into the river? Arania could not help laughing when she saw this scene. Even a demon will find it difficult to survive in such lava. You'll only die unless you have the bloodline of a flame demon. TSK, what a chatterbox. Roy looked at Arania with contempt for a moment before his eyes lit up. Magma flowed in this lava river, but magma was actually melted rocks, so there would be some rocks that did not fully melt or cool down in the river. These rocks were not fixed to the ground and often flowed along with the magma. And now, Roy saw such a piece before his eyes. After calculating the distance, Roy suddenly changed his direction, stomped on the shore, and jumped directly onto that floating rock. Roy landed on the rock with ease. The rock sank a little under the weight, but under Roy's nervous glance, this rock did not submerge into the magma and rose slowly instead. After chasing him to the riverbank and seeing this scene, Aranya was dumbfounded. Damn it, how is this little demon so clever? Chapter 13, Newborn Demon Wings. Of course, it was impossible for Roy to jump into the magma. However, he did not intend to bathe in it from the beginning. He was merely a newborn little demon, and he certainly could not match up with a demon like Aranya. However, he had his advantages as well, his small body and light weight. As a result, he left Aranya dumbfounded when he jumped onto the rock. Would she dare to continue chasing onto the rock with her tank-sized body? That was no different from suicide. Aranya stomped her spider legs angrily on the ground as she watched Roy flow steadily downstream atop the rock. She really could not figure out if this little demon was lucky or if he planned this method of escape from the beginning. If it was the latter, then this little demon was a little scary. He was not born that long ago, yet he was as cunning as an old demon. How could a demon with such intellect be only a low-ranked demon? No, my soul fragments are still in his hands. He'll definitely eat them if I let him go like this, causing huge damage to my soul. Seeing her clones catch up, Aranya gritted her teeth and directed them to the shore. Jump! Everyone jump! Aranya did not dare to jump herself, but the much smaller spider demons could. However, if they were to perish in the magma, Aranya similarly would not be able to recover her soul fragments on them. However, she was now blinded by rage. She could not imagine that she actually ate a loss at the hands of a little demon. She wanted to kill Roy even if it meant losing her soul fragments. However, would Roy not think of things that she could think of? This rock floating on the magma was not too big, only able to hold Roy and without other space on it. In such a situation, there was only one place the spider demons could land, so Roy waved his tail and hit them away, making them fall into the magma. In the end, after just a few were flung in such a manner, Aranya did not dare to get the demon spiders to throw themselves at him again. She was not dumb and could see how suicidal this action was. Despicable little bug. Helpless, Aranya began attacking verbally. But her vocabulary was clearly lacking, so she repeatedly called Roy this name. How long can you hide? You won't be able to come ashore as long as I follow you, and then you will be carried by the lava river into the lower levels of the abyss. There, you will encounter even more powerful demons. They can all easily crush you with a finger. Roy was stunned. There are indeed lower levels in this world. And it sounds like the indigenous demons call this underground world the abyss. Is the end of this lava river flowing deeper into it? Of course, Roy could not just continue flowing like this. But after saying this, Aranya followed Roy along the riverbank. Roy turned his head and saw that the riverbank was still rather far away. This lava river was much wider than he estimated with his eyes. It was at least 4 to 5 meters away from the opposite riverbank and impossible for him to jump over. Although he wanted to use this rock as a boat, Roy could not find anything that he could use as a paddle. Moreover, an ordinary paddle would probably instantly melt in this lava. Therefore, Roy looked like he was trapped. Aranya scoffed when she saw Roy's hesitation. However, before she finished laughing, she saw Roy patting the back of his head and then using his claw to gesture in the air. What is this damn little bug doing? Aranya was baffled. How could I forget that I have a lot of soul fragments? Roy thought while sitting on the rock. He summoned the system interface and saw that he had actually obtained about 50 soul fragments. If these soul fragments originate from Aranya's soul, perhaps they can be used? If they can be used, then I might get out of trouble. With this thought, Roy immediately began to draw. This time, Roy drew a pair of wings, a pair of demon wings. If he could not jump or swim over, then he could only fly over. Thus, Roy's first thought was to make a pair of wings for himself. However, he had no idea if the soul fragments he possessed were enough, so he did not dare to make the wings too big or set any complicated definitions. He had only one definition for the demon wings: flight. But when he tried to materialize it, Roy found that it would not work. There were not enough souls. It could only complete up to 80%, even though it was the same material as his body's. Roy had a headache. He also discovered that the system would not display the specific value for each soul. Similarly, there was no clear indication of how many souls it needed for each defined attribute, and it would only show the completion percentage when he was about to save, which required Roy to estimate the number required. Roy guessed that the flight attribute might require some strength in the wings itself. After all, it was necessary to offset his own weight to be able to fly, and it was impossible for a pair of wings without strength. This was probably why the wings could not materialize. Roy gave it some thought and changed the defined attribute to glide. It was immediately successful. This gave Roy the feeling of being like in a wingsuit. Humans might not be able to make it flap and fly, but they could spread the suit and glide with the wind. Roy was still 4 to 5 meters away from the other side of the river. As long as his control was good, it was not impossible for him to cross the river by gliding. Since that's settled, let's materialize it. On the shore, Arania was still wondering what Roy was doing, but right at that moment, she felt a great pain coming from her soul. The severe pain coming directly from the soul was indescribable. Arania's entire body was trembling, and terrible cries came from her mouth. The connection between the soul fragments and her main soul was suddenly severed, making her understand that Roy was devouring her soul fragments. The strange thing was that she did not even see Roy taking out her soul fragments to devour them. Just how did he do it? Arania's huge body was now lying on the ground. She raised her head reluctantly to look at Roy on the rock and found his body trembling as well. However, his trembling was different because Arania could see very clearly that 2 bumps suddenly arched out from Roy's back. The 2 bumps broke out of their wall while Roy trembled. The next moment, a pair of dark red demon wings appeared. Arania was shocked by this scene. Demon wings? Real demon wings? Could this damn little bug actually have the bloodline of a high-rank demon? Impossible. If he really has the bloodline of a high-rank demon, why would he appear in the upper level of the abyss? Arania's doubt was normal. In the abyss of the demon world, bloodline was the most essential condition for evaluating demons. The low-ranked demons usually had mixed bloodlines, and such demons were usually born from an egg. They would not even have the concept of parents. The male low-ranked demons did not care at all, while the female low-ranked demons would directly send their eggs to the upper world after laying them, putting them in the demon sea to allow the seawater to push these eggs to places where they could hatch all over. Such places were islands where volcanoes exist, and the hot volcanic rock bed would incubate and hatch the eggs. Almost all of the low-ranked demons were born this way. However, it was different for the middle-rank and high-rank demons whose bloodline was pure. Although some of the middle-rank demons might be hatched from eggs, quite a number of them had live births. All of the high-rank demons had live births, and this method of giving birth also led to a scarcity of high-rank demons. As a result, the high-rank demons placed importance on their offspring and educated them from birth. The indication of purity of bloodline depended on whether or not the demon possessed demon wings. Unlike the elytra wings of insect demons, Roy's wings had now transformed into the form of real demon wings. It was no wonder that Arania would be puzzled. After all, the pure-blooded demons who possessed demon wings were extremely rare in the upper level of the abyss. In Arania's shocked eyes, Roy tried to flap his wings. The wings looked small, and the wingspan was not large enough, but he was able to control it freely. Roy faced the other side of the river and squatted on the rock to start accumulating power. He concentrated all his strength on his legs and even bent his tail against the rock. After he finished accumulating power, Roy slammed his legs and tail with great force and bounced up from where he was. The jump brought him high up into the sky. Roy fully extended his demon wings while thinking of rushing to the other side of the river. At this moment, the hot current from the lava river gave him a lot of buoyancy, allowing him to glide smoothly toward the other side of the river. However, Roy kept descending because he was gliding. Finally, he used his claws to grip the cliff at the other side over the river and landed his feet firmly on it, plastering his body against the cliff. It could not count as a perfect landing, but Roy was overjoyed, finding himself out of danger. Roy turned around, waved at Arania across the river, and then tried to say his first few words with the demon language. Fair. Well. Yes, it doesn't seem too difficult to learn the mother tongue of the demon race. Roy gathered his wings behind him and left under Arania's stunned gaze. Chapter 14, Where was the magic? Roy walked backward. He had to guard against the possibility of Arania jumping across the river. However, he later realized that he was thinking too much. Arania was now in unbearable pain and had no strength to pursue Roy. She could only watch him leave while hissing angrily at him. Demons were experts at playing with souls. The more they played with them, the more they understood them. They could use certain means to separate a portion of their soul without damaging their main soul. Soul fragments were created in this way. These soul fragments could live on inside living creatures like parasites, and since the soul fragments had the demon's aura, They could naturally turn ordinary creatures into monsters. The demons usually use these monsters with the soul fragments to help them capture prey or to fight. All of their perceptions would be sent back to the demon. The more soul fragments they separated out meant that there were more nodes and stronger perception. This was a special soul network. In this sense, demons were also creatures who liked to surf the internet. In addition to being stored in living bodies, the soul fragments could also be stored in certain items. These items were generally called demon creations or demon items, and these items often had some very special functions. However, the separation of soul fragments was not without side effects. Once these soul fragments were swallowed or purified by others, it would cause severe damage to the main soul. It was also possible to obtain the true name of the demon from the soul fragments through special means. Any damage to the soul might cause the collapse of a demon's mental state, their magic energy to dissipate, and so on, causing the demon's strength to drop significantly. Roy used up about 50 of Arania's soul fragments to materialize his demon wings. This was a severe injury to her. It was already a feat for Arania not to go crazy on the spot, so how could she still possess the energy to jump across the river to kill him? He was now the biggest enemy to Arania. Of course, Roy had yet to understand much of the demon world, so he did not understand the gravity of what he did. After leaving the riverbank, he was still feeling a little depressed. What happened to driving out the bad neighbor? Why am I the one being driven away instead? It was truly completely unexpected. Murphy of Murphy's Law is still with me in spirit after transmigration. I definitely can't return to my cave for the time being. At least not before I find a way to kill Arania. Unfortunately, a cave like that was quite difficult to find. Fortunately, Roy had already made up his mind to explore the underground world leisurely. His schedule was only moved ahead now, so he was not depressed for too long. As such, Roy chose a direction and started moving forward. He began his hunt for prey. After being hunted down by Spider Queen Arania, Roy realized that there could be all kinds of accidents in this unknown world. If he was not careful enough and smart enough, he might lose his life. Therefore, the best way was to store some souls as a reserve so that he had room to navigate during emergencies. Thus, while traveling, Roy hunted down the monsters he could win against and obtain their souls. A month passed by in this way, and Roy could make some conclusions about certain things. Perhaps it was as what Arania had said. The more powerful demons stayed in the lower levels of the abyss, while those on the upper level were basically all low-ranked demons. Fighting and hunting were the mainstay of this world. Demons hunted monsters and also their own kind. Similarly, monsters not only hunted their own kind, but they also hunted demons. This was because there was a possibility for monsters to turn into demons. Monsters could accumulate demonic aura through devouring demons, and they could transform into demons themselves once they had enough demonic aura. This also explained why the low-ranked demons had such strange shapes and complicated bloodlines. It was precisely because of this rule that some fierce and powerful monsters loved to hunt little demons like Roy. Roy saw a little demon about his size being caught by a huge bird-shaped monster swooping down from the sky. It was then gobbled up by the monster head first and even struggled as it moved along the monster's throat. This scene made Roy's heart turn cold. It also made him understand that if he did not mature quickly, he might be eaten like this one day. The pressure and urgency of survival made Roy realize that he was becoming more and more cold-blooded in his hunts. He did not even flinch when killing his kind now. Roy could not kill the monsters and demons that were too powerful, but Roy could now kill opponents at the same rank as him with ease because of his special tail. Regardless of whether it was a sneak attack or an open attack, the tail's killing efficiency greatly benefited Roy. The first thing Roy did after acquiring enough souls was to modify his demon wings. He increased the size of its wingspan, and the demon wings now had a wingspan of 2 meters after extending. After finding that its carrying capacity was sufficient, Roy also changed the attribute of glide to flight. Now, he could finally take off by flapping his wings and fly freely in the air. The only thing that was lacking was his speed. Therefore, Roy had already thought of the next part of his modification plan for the demon wings, adding the attribute of high-speed flight. After being able to fly, Roy's hunting range became much larger, and he could now fight the flying monsters and demons. As time passed, Roy's range of exploration also continued to expand. However, he had actually only reached about 100 kilometers away from the cave he had lived in. During this period, his experience with hunting made him discover something that puzzled him. He realized that all creatures living in the upper level of the abyss, be it monsters or demons, basically used only their bodies to fight. Although some used venoms or acids, These methods were only products of their own bodies. There were only two conditions to judge the strength of these demons and monsters, one was their body type, and the other was the size of their muscles. This sort of physical fighting method seemed very exciting, but it also puzzled Roy to no end. What about magic? Why are there no demons fighting with magic? Chapter 15, T-Virus Transformation. Adult Period. During this period, Roy had been thinking that he would have died in the lava river if Spider Queen Arania had shot a shadow arrow or a spiderweb at him while he was on the rock. However, Arania did not use such magic. It was not just her. Roy had not met any demon throughout his journey that used magic in the truest sense of the word. He would have thought that there was no magic in this world if it was not because he could clearly see a magic energy stat as an attribute. Now came the question. Roy had magic energy as an attribute since he was born, so that meant that the other demons should as well. However, why was it that none of them used magic? Could a demon who did not know magic be considered a demon at all? Roy observed for a long time before he made his guesses. His first guess was that the magic energy reserve of low-rank demons was too low to meet the conditions to use magic. His second guess was that the power of magic released was too weak and not as efficient as physical attacks, which was why low-rank demons did not like to use it. His last guess was that the demons on the upper level of the abyss had magic energy, but because of the lack of inheritance of magic knowledge, they did not know how to use magic at all. Simply put, they were uneducated and uncivilized. In fact, after giving it some thought, the third guess was probably the case. The upper level of the abyss was chaotic and had fighting all day long. It was basically another version of human slums. Even if there was a demon language, he had not even seen a demon that was literate. It was no wonder there was not any inheritance of knowledge. Perhaps he could only head to the lower levels of this abyss to obtain the knowledge of magic after becoming strong enough in this upper level. If that were the case, it would explain why there were not any high-ranked demons on this level. The high-ranked demons were elites and were not going to live in slums with these peasants. Roy felt refreshed, feeling like he stumbled upon the truth. If it was really what he guessed, did that mean that he could create a magic skill? This was not impossible. Roy was an anomaly among the demons after all. He could use the customization system to modify himself, so he did not need to follow the usual route of demon evolution. The ability to use magic in the upper level of the abyss where most of the other demons did not know how to use magic was an advantage that required no explanation. Roy had a feeling of superiority originating from human intellect over these low-ranked demons with muscles in their heads. He basked in the joy of crushing them not only with his intellect but also with his strength. Just do it, it was time to make a wave. No matter how sure the plan looked, his priority was to ensure the supply of souls. The first thing that Roy thought of was the T-Virus. He had drawn the material, so he would definitely use it. Roy estimated that he would need 100 or so complete low-quality souls to materialize it. Not only could the T-Virus greatly increase his physical strength, but it would also increase the possibility of giving him a superpower like Psychokinesis. Roy's original definition of T-Virus was perfect infusion after all. Although Psychokinesis probably could not be considered magic, Roy was not that demanding. He was satisfied as long as it served its purpose. Next, Roy entered hardcore mode and launched a massacre. All the demons and monsters weaker than Roy faced tough luck since he killed to hunt souls, not just for food. Sneak attacks, ambushes, traps, Roy did everything he could to harvest souls. In fact, many demons were cunning, but that generally referred to the monsters that had survived for a long time in the upper level of the abyss, or those that had reached maturity, and formed their wisdom during their hunting experiences. However, the weaker demons and monsters that had not survived that long had yet to gather enough experience, and they were direct in their approach to combat, fight the opponent head-on and be done with it. Therefore, this was the most vulnerable phase for demons and monsters. Those that could get through it would gradually smarten up, while death awaited those that could not. This was why Arania was surprised by Roy's cleverness. In her impression, a little demon like Roy was in his vulnerable phase, so how was it possible for him to be so cunning? And now, Roy was specifically catching demons and monsters at this phase. He was even kill-stealing from the other weaker demons and monsters. How could they possibly do anything about it? It took Roy about 4 days to collect 120 low-quality souls. Their sizes were different since they came from demons and monsters. After gauging that he had enough souls, Roy found a safe place and eagerly started on his T-Virus modification plan. He opened his system interface and watched as the accumulated souls continued to disappear. In the end, Roy finally had the syringe gun in his hand. It took him 114 souls to exchange for the T-virus, by far the most souls he had used thus far. However, he hesitated now that he finally had the syringe gun. He could not help it. It was a virus. It took courage to inject yourself with a virus. What if the system had problems? Nonetheless, after pondering over it for a while, Roy decided to believe in the system. He pressed the syringe gun on his arm and pushed the pump, injecting himself with the potion. After injecting himself, Roy threw the syringe gun carelessly. He sat cross-legged on the ground and started waiting quietly. Not too long after, a strong burning sensation appeared from within his body and quickly spread throughout his torso, limbs, tail, and even his brain. All of them felt as though they were on fire. This burning sensation quickly turned into unbearable pain. Roy roared with pain. All the cells in his entire body were frantically proliferating at the moment. His muscles, internal organs, and bones were expanding at a crazy speed, and his blood flowed around his body at a crazy speed. The pain caused by his rapidly growing body made him crazy, and his hands could not help scratching all over his body, causing his skin to bleed out. After what seemed like an eternity, the pain gradually began to alleviate. Roy slowly recovered and checked his physical condition. It was not until this time that Roy realized he seemed to have grown out of the little demon category. The rapid expansion of his body caused him to grow to about 2 meters tall, almost double his previous height. His arms, legs, tail, and the muscles all over his body bulged. His demon wings also benefited once again. It became wider and stronger, and its wingspan increased to more than 3 meters. Stretching his hand to touch his head, Roy found his demon horns grew as well. They were directly protruding out from his skull and had a curve to them. His palms grew larger, and the nails on them became longer, sharper, and began to flash a cold light. A gentle stroke on a rock caused a scratch on it. Even without the modification by the system, these claws seem to be as hard as steel? Does that mean that I can obtain the adamantium attribute next time? His tail became thicker and longer as well. Roy could feel his strength just by standing there now. Even Roy did not expect such a huge change could happen with a tube of the T-virus. It felt as though he directly matured into an adult. The 100-odd souls were truly worth it. As he looked at the system interface, Roy found his attributes had increased dramatically. Name, Roy. Race, demon. Bloodline, at least 4 different kinds. Demon name, Bakran Shamarir Lukdiran Stanlis Lundisha. Ramos Osiris. Form, adult. Hierarchy, top of the low rank. Attribute, dark. Strength, 66. Speed, 35. Magic energy, 9. Activity, 74. Loaded materials, T-virus, alien blade tail, demon wings. Skills, Psychokinesis, strengthened by virus. Evaluation, you seem to be resuscitated? Roy was amazed at the changes in his attributes. The T-virus brought him a 50-point increase in strength. The increase in his speed was about 20 points, and activity had increased the most with at least 60 points. No wonder no traces could be seen from the skin he had scratched. It had healed itself with his strong vitality. Moreover, his evaluation seemed to have skipped the middle-low rank entirely. His premature state was gone as well. He managed to patch it up. However, what delighted Roy the most was the appearance of psychokinesis in his skills section. Although he might have thought that it was possible to obtain superpowers before, it still made Roy feel incredible when it really appeared. He could not wait to try it out. He stretched his hand out and curled his finger, visible through the sharp nail. A fist-sized rock floated up under his command and flew to where Roy's fingers pointed. This wonderful remote control technique was quite fun for Roy. However, Roy felt pain grapple his brain after a while. The stone dropped onto the ground with the loss of his concentration. Shit. Roy just noticed that his magic energy was now empty. Does magic energy have to be consumed to activate psychokinesis? Moreover, it seems like my magic energy attribute didn't increase through the T-virus. Roy was shocked. How on earth am I supposed to increase my magic energy? Chapter 16, The Aroma of Souls. Roy came to the conclusion that the failure to increase magic energy was most likely related to soul-devouring addiction. He suspected that demons love to devour souls most likely because it would increase their magic power. Otherwise, the demons probably would not be so crazy over them just because of their taste. So after his train of thoughts, he took one of his remaining souls out. Should I try one? Come to think of it, I've been investing the souls in the system for my modifications and have yet to taste one. Is it really that delicious to a demon? The soul that Roy took out was the smallest of them. Saliva dripped out of his mouth involuntarily as he stared at the soul. At the same time, an extreme desire arose, just like how he was when he saw delicious food during the time he still was human. He could not wait to eat them. Roy gulped down his saliva and could not wait to throw this ball of light into his mouth. The broadbean-sized soul melted, no, it disappeared, as soon as it came into contact with his saliva. The saliva of a demon really could decompose a soul. At the same time, an indescribably wonderful taste came from Roy's tongue. His entire body and mind seemed to be in extreme jubilation. It seemed as though his body was frantically secreting dopamine, making his body feel lighter. He was floating in the clouds. This feeling lasted for quite some time before slowly dissipating. Roy slowly recovered while constantly reminiscing about the feeling just now. The more he thought about the aftertaste, the more his brain signaled that it wanted more. Roy nearly could not stop himself from taking out the rest of the souls. Fortunately, he had a bit of self-control and forced himself to resist this urge. What a close call. This thing is really addictive. Roy touched his chest, feeling a lingering fear after he stopped his impulsive thirst. After calming down, he discovered that most of the soul seemed to have disappeared, and only a small part transformed into a special feeling, like flowing heat. It spread to all parts of his body first and then gathered again. Finally, it flowed to his heart and stopped there. Is this flowing heat magic power? Roy experienced it carefully. He was unsure, so he simply opened the system interface to check his stats. Roy had used up his magic energy when he used Psychokinesis, but he now found that the counter of the magic energy attribute was now 0, plus 0.3. What does this mean? Is the increase of 0.3 in magic energy something that I slowly recovered myself, or was it caused by consuming that soul? If it was the latter, it meant that devouring souls could really improve his magic energy. This was not necessarily good news to Roy because it meant that he could not rely solely on the system to strengthen himself but would still need to maintain the growth of his magic energy, meaning that he needed even more souls. This can't go on. I have to understand the reason behind the increase in magic energy and then think of ways to improve it. Roy thought. Otherwise, I'll be poor my whole life. Setting aside the attribute temporarily, Roy opened a blank new page and began to draw again. To Roy, the usage of souls in the system was far more efficient than directly devouring them to improve his magic energy attribute. They both consumed souls, but the system could bring about more things, such as the big underpants Roy was drawing now. Yes, big underpants. You might not believe it, but Roy had been naked this whole time. Now, he finally had some surplus to make some clothes to cover himself. It was all right when he was a little demon, but he did not feel that way anymore now that his body became bigger. The chill in between his crotch was not that wonderful. Roy set the color of the underpants to match his skin color. It was made of pure cotton, breathable and dry. Roy was finally relieved. Although he did not know the application prospects of this iron rod, protecting it was the instinct of every male, and demons were no exception. I'm probably the first demon wearing underpants in the upper level of the abyss, right? Roy thought as he hurried on his way. This time, Roy flapped his demon wings and flew up, exploring from the sky above. Just how vast was this abyss of hell? Roy had no way of knowing. He had walked hundreds of kilometers, but in fact, he was afraid that he had yet to walk out of the horizon he saw, let alone to the lower levels of the abyss. Now that he could hover around in the air, he saw many scenes he could not see from the ground. And enemies. Unlike being on the ground, Roy's enemies while flying were bird-type and insect-type demons with wings. However, Roy could now handle them with ease. The T-virus allowed Roy's strength and speed attributes to increase slowly with time. However, these flying-type demons did not have much strength, so when he encountered these demons, Roy could crush them easily head-on. Roy's tail and sharp claws could tear their bodies directly once he caught them. At the same time, Roy also learned the hunting method of the flying demons. When prey appeared on the ground, he would quickly dive down, and he could even directly overwhelm some larger-sized demons with the impact of the dive. In order to verify his strength, Roy consciously chose adult demons as the targets of his hunt. Fighting the top low-ranked demons was a lot more interesting than simply bullying the weak, and it was very helpful for training his fighting skills. Compared to the flying demons, Roy had greater strength, and he had the advantage of flight when facing the powerful demons on the ground. As a result, some of the wiser demons chose to avoid Roy after he had successfully killed a number of top low-ranked demons. Roy was now a demon tyrant. He could probably even get rid of Spider Queen Arania if he were to head back now. However, Roy did not choose to go back because killing Arania was not attractive to him. This was because Roy discovered one thing: as the number of souls he possessed increased, the quality of the soul had nothing to do with the strength of the creature. He had hunted a total of 23 top low-rank demons, but their souls were low-quality souls to the system without any exception. The only difference was that they were larger and had higher soul power. In addition, Roy no longer needed to search for caves to avoid danger now that he was stronger. Therefore, even if he were to go back and kill Arania, he would gain nothing more than a low-quality soul. This would take up a huge amount of time and give up the area he had explored to fly back hundreds of kilometers. It was not cost-effective, however he thought about it. In any case, he would probably still stay in the upper level of the abyss for quite some time, and he could take his time to get revenge on Arania for pursuing him. Life in this upper level of the abyss was very monotonous and boring. It was the same for almost all the demons living in this world. Their time was spent on fighting and hunting every single day. Roy tried to adapt to it, but it was still unbearable after a long time. He felt that he would go crazy if he continued this way. He even had thoughts of whether or not he should leave 1 or 2 souls to devour every day as a pastime. However, one day, while flying in the air and waiting for an enemy to run into him, Roy suddenly found dozens of demons gathering on the ground. There was no conflict even though they were together, and they were actually desperately running in the same direction. This was not unique to the ground. Even those in the air were actually flapping their wings desperately in the same direction. This scene reminded Roy of the time he hatched, so he immediately reacted to what was happening. Demons would only act this way under special circumstances. Roy, bored out of his mind, changed direction and followed them. After flying some distance, he neared a certain range, and an indescribable aroma enamored Roy. This aroma was similar to the soul that Roy devoured, but it was not as rich, and it was impossible for it to spread so far. Could this be the aroma of a high-quality soul? Roy realized. He vigorously rushed toward it. Chapter 17, The Summoned Demon. A demon's sense of smell was special. Only they could smell the aroma of a soul from afar. However, since the souls they usually detected were low quality, they would not bother to rush over because they knew it was the spoils of other demons. They were too far away, and it would be gone by the time they reached it. But it was different now. Only a high-quality soul would be able to emit such an aroma, and it was definitely something rare in the upper level of the abyss. Hundreds of demons actually gathered after smelling it. Many demons came involuntarily driven by the pure desire for such a soul. They were simply attracted to the aroma but did not know how this soul appeared. Upon arriving, he realized that the aroma came from the inside of an extinct volcano. There were many such volcanoes in the upper level of the abyss. However, most of them were active volcanoes with magma flowing out at any time. The demon world was a world where lava and flames coexisted precisely because of these volcanoes. Similarly, there were extinct volcanoes as well, but there were very few of them. Now, however, hundreds of demons were rushing toward the interior of this extinct volcano. And many more were constantly streaming in. After diving down into the interior of the volcano, he saw that there was a ferocious fight going on. The demons that arrived earlier showed their most savage faces and were fighting each other, but their battles were all surrounding an altar. Roy was astonished because he knew from one glance that this altar was artificial, something he had never seen in the upper level of the abyss. He could not expect these low-rank demons to build houses. In fact, due to the crossbreeding, most of them could not even be classified. Categories like flame demon, succubus, shadow demon, and so on could not be applied to them. Roy could not even tell what type of demon he was. Many low-rank demons simply survived, and they did not even know how to make simple tools and weapons, so how was it possible for them to build something? Therefore, Roy was certain that the altar could have never been made by these low-rank demons. However, the demon world isn't a place that humans can survive, so who built this altar? Could it be something the high-rank demons left behind? The altar looked huge. In addition to the height of the base, the top platform was as large as a basketball court. The large magic formation engraved onto the round platform had a 6-pointed star in the middle, and within it was a strange drawing. It seemed to be an Ouroboros biting its own tail, and unrecognizable words surrounded the magic formation. Intuition told Roy that it was probably words of the demon language. The magic formation was currently glimmering. The indecipherable words on the drawing were flashing rhythmically with a slight buzz. It seemed to have activated. The aroma of the soul came from the magic formation, but what baffled Roy was that he could not see the high-quality soul anywhere, and there was nothing in the magic formation. What's going on? Has the soul not appeared yet? In that case, where is the aroma coming from? Looking at the demons that seemed to have lost their minds fighting below, Roy knew that they were competing for ownership of the high-quality soul that was about to appear. Although Roy's mouth might be dripping saliva from the aroma of the soul, he floated in the air to observe instead of joining the fight. Roy had yet to understand the function of the altar, so he would not take action before he did. He even stayed a little farther away to prevent those demons from taking the initiative to fight him. It would not be an overstatement to describe the scene below as a river of blood. Demons died one after another as the fighting progressed. Purple demon blood flowed out of their bodies and converged. The demons that survived could not wait to get into the next fight after devouring their opponents' souls. One of the demons was the most eye-catching. He was a powerful demon about 8 meters tall and had the largest body among the demons present. He had a 4-foot-long tail covered with thick horny scales like that of a pangolin, and his upper body was humanoid. Roy knew this demon had lived in the upper level of the abyss for decades from the long curved horns on his head. Demon horns often had rings to show their age, and this was the main basis to judge their age. This old demon was almost invincible among this group of demons. However, the most important matter was that he had a weapon in his hand. It was a huge, crude stone hammer and was stained with the blood of the demons, looking extremely savage. The old demon seemed to have incorporated his own soul fragment into it, giving this weapon a terrible black glow and a hardness far beyond imagination. Roy weighed the situation and found that it was impossible for even him to win against this old demon, further increasing his reluctance to enter the battle. The old demon waved the big stone hammer around and killed everything around him. It did not take long before he became the lone survivor in this bloody melee. He let out a huge roar as he stared at the remaining demons around him. They were unwilling but still slowly retreated, admitting defeat and recognizing the old demon as the victor. The scene was similar to where he first hatched. This was the demon world. The other demons would recognize your status when you had more power than them. It's coming. Roy watched as the old demon took heavy steps up to the altar. He stared intently, trying to see what would happen. The following scene almost made Roy think he was going mad. When the old demon stepped on the altar, the high-quality soul did not appear as Roy imagined. Instead, a black light spot appeared on the altar. The entire magic formation began to shine, expanding that black light spot to form a black mist, and the mist enveloped the old demon. After coming into contact with the black mist, the old demon's body began to blur a little. Finally, the entire body of the old demon disappeared, and the light from the magic formation dimmed. Fuck, he really disappeared. Was he teleported away? Roy looked at the altar in surprise. He felt the black mist was like a legendary space gate or portal. What else could explain the disappearance of the old demon? The high-quality soul he was anticipating did not appear, and the old demon was teleported away instead. After he sorted everything that happened, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. That old demon was being summoned. Right, summoned. This must have been the case. Someone was summoning demons through some special means, and the offering given by that person must have been a high-quality soul. The demons fought each other over the offering. And the winner had to respond to the summon and enter the other world if they wanted the offering. The role of this altar also came out, a medium to connect with other worlds. Roy became excited. This was a huge discovery. No wonder the novels and movies that he watched in the past had plots that summoned demons. It turned out to be true. What kind of world was I summoned to? Is there only one such world? 2? Or multiple worlds? What kind of person summoned the demon? What did they summon the demon for? Is there a contract between the demon and the summoner? Wait. Roy had too many questions, but this discovery was really wonderful for a Gemini like Roy. This meant his monotonous life would finally become interesting. The remaining demons left once the aroma of the soul disappeared. The empty altar was not attractive to them at all, but Roy stayed. He wanted to see how often this summon happened. Other than that, Roy had to take a look at the rest of the extinct volcanoes to see if there were altars like this one in them that could open portals. Chapter 18, The Return of the Old Demon. Roy initially wanted to stay here to see when the old demon would return, but he did not expect that the wait would last 7 days. Of course, 7 days was only an estimate. Roy could not tell exactly how long he had waited. In short, it was quite long. During this period, Roy realized that the opening of the altar was not occasional. On the contrary, it was pretty frequent. The magic formation on the altar would emit light every now and then all kinds of unique scents would emanate from the void. Upon observing the phenomena for a couple of times, Roy gradually realized that every time the magic formation activated, people were communicating with the abyss of the demon world by providing offerings to attempt to summon demons. Offerings like the high-quality soul in the first offering were rare. Instead, the stench of blood typically filled the air in the void. Roy guessed that it was highly likely that the stench of blood was from the summoner using fresh blood or internal organs as offerings. But although the stench of blood could also attract demons, it was not as alluring as using souls. After all, demons frequently smelled blood during their hunt for prey in the abyss and had smelled enough. Therefore, mundane offerings would not attract powerful demons but only monsters or the weaker and smaller demons. Even so, the offerings had to be sufficiently bloody. If the stench of blood was not strong enough, even the monsters would disdain it, resulting in the magic formation quickly dimming soon after activation. This indicated that the summoning had failed. Apart from offerings being unattractive and the short activation time of the magic formation, the scent of the offerings faded quickly due to the deactivation of the magic formation. During this period of observation, Roy noticed that there were quite a few attempts to summon demons that failed. If communicating with the magic formation required magic power, then failure was probably because of the weak magic power possessed by the summoner. This made Roy conscious of the fact that most of the demon summoners were likely only dabblers. Not only did they possess weak magic power, but they also did not understand what demons really wanted. Of course, the blame could not be placed on these summoners, as even the dabblers had managed to summon demons successfully. At least, this was what Roy had observed during his wait. A total of 12 monsters and 3 little demons that were attracted and entered the magic formation were successfully teleported. In particular, the 3 little demons could have hatched in the same batch as Roy. If not for the T-virus, Roy would not have skipped the long growth phase and directly proceeded to the maturity phase. The other little demons were not so lucky, and they had to go through the usual growth phase. However, during the growth phase, the little demons did not have it easy, facing difficulties in hunting for prey and surviving, so only the ones loitering into this area would be attracted by the scent of blood and respond to the summons. It was the same for those monsters. It was precisely because of these weak demons and monsters responding to the summons that led to the low success rate observed by Roy. Those unsuccessful dabblers aside, the small group of lucky successful ones probably thought that they had mastered the summoning technique and noted it down. The circulation of these notes resulted in people using increasingly distorted techniques to summon demons. After all, there were absolutely not many people who truly understood the abyss. Inferring from these hypotheses, the summoner that attracted the demons with a high-quality soul and had them select a winner through fighting could have been the only one who truly understood how summoning demons worked. He just did not know from what kind of world the summoner came from. During the time Roy was waiting, some of the demons and monsters that were summoned returned sporadically. These returnees usually had satisfied expressions, probably because they had managed to enjoy the offerings. But there were also those that looked very miserable. They had injuries from head to toe, and some had even lost limbs, possibly the work of a stronger enemy. Despite making it back alive, such injuries were often indications that they could not live long in the abyss, and they would quickly become the prey of other demons and monsters. Roy could not help it and killed 2 wounded low-rank little demons. However, the souls he harvested showed up in the system as incomplete low-quality souls. This meant that those demons might have suffered injuries in the summoning process and lost part of their souls. What happened? Roy was secretly relieved that he had not hastily entered the magic formation. This was not something he had anticipated. He felt that he would only know after the old demon returned because the old demon, like Arania, was someone who had mastered the demon language. Looking at how familiar he was when entering the magic formation, it should not have been the only time that he had responded to a summon, so he definitely knew what this demon summoning was about. As for how to communicate with this old demon, he could only take it one step at a time. On the 7th day, a black spot appeared in the magic formation without warning. The black spot quickly expanded, and a gate appeared. Afterward, a large shadow appeared in the magic formation. The old demon finally returned. However, upon his appearance, his large body immediately fell headfirst into the magic formation, causing a loud thud. The volcanic ashes on the volcano wall rustled in the air with this huge vibration. The old demon looked quite miserable. It was the worst situation that Roy had seen during this time. One of his demon horns had completely broken off, resulting in purple blood flowing from the top of his head onto his face. His stone hammer was missing, and his tail was also broken. Hundreds of big and small wounds covered all over his thick horny scales, and the most severe one was the 2-meter-long wound on his abdomen. This wound seemed to be cut by a sharp weapon, and it was so bad that his internal organs fell out of his body and hit the ground. Roy was shocked to see how horrible the old demon looked. With such fatal wounds, how did he even return alive? Roy was certain that the old demon had experienced a fierce battle after being summoned. However, the old demon's injured state provided Roy with an opportunity to communicate with him, so Roy jumped down from the volcano wall and went onto the altar. In fact, while Roy was coming down, the old demon had already struggled and crawled out of the magic formation on the altar. The old demon probably felt the need to leave the magic formation quickly in case someone summoned a demon again. What was he going to do if he was summoned again? The old demon was already badly wounded, and responding to another summon was akin to suicide. After the old demon crawled out from the magic formation, he naturally noticed Roy moving closer to him. Despite his bloodied face, the old demon still roared threateningly at Roy. He thought Roy was here to eliminate him, so of course he was not going to be polite. But despite his fierceness, his roar could not help but reveal a tremor, exposing his inner uneasiness. Roy recognized that uneasiness, so he did not waste any time. He went up and used demon language to say, "Answer my quest, Ion. Otherwise, you will die." Roy was not fluent in the demon language since very few demons could communicate with him. However, the demon language had an advantage in that it could quickly let the other party understand what the speaker wanted to express. As Roy spoke, he drew his claws across the hard stone floor. Although he did not leave any claw marks, it created a easy sound and sparks to appear from the friction. He used this to let the old demon know that he had the ability to kill him easily. Looking at Roy's extremely strong muscles and claws, the old demon knew that he was not a match for Roy in his injured state despite Roy being only a quarter of his height. The old demon could only lie down now. Therefore, the old demon quickly compromised and used the demon language to ask Roy, "What do you want to know?" Chapter 19, The Devoted and Professional Good Demon. Seeing the old demon being very cooperative, Roy was very satisfied. "What's your name?" After asking this first question, Roy found that the old demon was a little hesitant, so he continued, "I'm not asking for your true demon name." Upon hearing this, the old demon breathed a sigh of relief. "Jaskalos. You can call me Jaskalos." "Okay, Jaskalos." Roy nodded and pointed at the magic formation on the altar. "What is that about? Is this altar and magic formation a teleportation formation? Who built it?" "It's known as the Gate of the Abyss." Jaskalos replied. "You haven't been summoned before, right? We demons know this place as the teleportation gate. As for who built this altar, I don't know. These gates of the abyss have been around for tens of thousands of years. I've only heard that they may have been built by the demon kings living at the lowest level of the abyss." If even an old demon like Jaskalos, who had been living for who knew how long, did not know who built the altar, then there was no point in asking further. Roy could only give up getting to the bottom of this and carried on asking, "Where do the gates of the abyss lead? Another world? Is there only one such world, or are there many?" "Many," Jaskalos answered while stuffing his internal organs back into his abdomen. "I've been summoned 8 times in total. Almost into a new world every time. It is said that the gates of the abyss can connect to countless worlds. Any world that knows how to use magic power can connect with the gates of the abyss." "Oh, you know about magic power?" Roy asked with excitement. "So, do you know how to use magic?" However, Jaskalos shook his enormous head. "No, I can't. None of the low-ranked demons can transform magic power into magic. I wouldn't have been beaten so miserably if I knew magic." "Why can't low-ranked demons use magic?" Roy asked puzzledly. "Bloodline," Jaskalos explained, "the bloodlines of the low-level demons are too complicated. Magic power is accumulated through blood vessels and stored within the demon heart. Under circumstances where the bloodline is too complicated, and blood is unable to flow in the reverse direction, it's impossible to release magic. Only through promoting to the next level to become a middle-ranked demon can a demon then enter the lower levels of the abyss and search for a place of refinement to refine their bloodline, thereby building a channel for the magic power to flow." After finishing, Jaskalos looked at Roy strangely. "This is all in the inherited memories from a demon's eggshell after hatching. How come you don't know but are asking me?" Roy was dumbfounded. Were there such memories in the eggshell? Why don't I know? It's not because of my premature birth again, right? There was memory loss in my inherited memory. Roy could only carry on asking, "Tell me, how do you accomplish the promotion?" Jaskalos did not answer but instead looked at the pair of demon wings on Roy's back and showed a weird smile. Roy could not figure out what he was thinking. It could not have been anything good because Jaskalos looked like he was gloating. Roy could not bear it any further and said coldly, "You can choose not to answer, but I will kill you and search for another low-rank demon to get answers." "There are no criteria for promotion," Jaskalos said. "It's just incessantly hunting and plundering souls. In fact, most low-rank demons can't undergo promotion in their lives, so I also can tell you how promotion works." Duh. Roy felt that he was asking in vain. Had the old demon known how to promote, he would already be a middle-rank demon. "Okay, let's change the topic," Roy said. "What happened to you when you were summoned? How did you get beaten so badly?" A glimpse of fear flashed across Jaskalos's face as he listened to the questions. "I was expelled. The one who summoned me was a demon sorcerer, but I didn't expect that he summoned me to deal with a powerful paladin. He left me fighting the paladin while he ran away. I fought for some time before the paladin killed and expelled me." "Killed?" Roy could not help but glance at the large wound on Jaskalos's abdomen. "Aren't you still alive?" "That's because the Ouroboros mark protected me," Jaskalos said impatiently. "Any demon summoned to another world is under the protection of the Ouroboros mark. It immortalizes the soul, and the demon will be expelled and returned to the demon world at the moment of death. At most, the soul and the body will be badly wounded." Roy finally understood why all the summoned demons returned eventually, even those that were maimed. None of the demons truly died in another world because of the protection of the Ouroboros mark in the magic formation. However, this was also probably because the paladin that fought with Jaskalos did not know his true name. Had the paladin known his true name, Jaskalos might not have made it back. He would have died even with the protection of the Ouroboros mark. Upon knowing this, Roy was finally relieved. Although it was dangerous, and Roy might encounter natural enemies such as paladins or exorcists, he would be safe as long as his enemies did not know his true demon name and would not really die. Jaskalos struggled to stand and said, "Have you finished asking? I'm leaving." Although Jaskalos had escaped death, he was not in a good state. He had finally stuffed his internal organs back where they belonged, but he needed time to recuperate. Given the powerful vitality of demons, it was only a matter of time. Apart from rushing to recuperate, Jaskalos could not wait to leave as the cunning and suspicious nature of demons meant that he did not dare to remain with Roy. Standing on his feet, Jaskalos towered over Roy, giving him an increased sense of confidence. This was also why he had been cooperative in answering Roy's questions. He was buying time to recuperate. Now that he regained mobility, he did not need to be courteous to a demon of Roy's size. Such was the nature of a demon, brash and oppressive. "One last question, what offering did you get? Was it that high-quality soul?" Roy asked with his head raised. "Already swallowed," Jaskalos said with a sneer. "How can any demon store a delicacy like this?" Roy felt a little regretful despite already expecting this. Although he had only smelled it and had not seen it, that was his first encounter with a high-quality soul. He shook his head regretfully. "Is that true? Forget it. In that case, leave your soul." What? Before Jaskalos could react, Roy suddenly rose. He spread his demon wings, flew up from the bottom, and went straight for Jaskalos's throat. In the blink of an eye, Roy reached Jaskalos's throat and swung his right hand violently. Jaskalos's throat was originally protected by his horny scale armor, but under Roy's claws, his throat was easily torn open. The 4 claw wounds were so deep that blood gushed out of Jaskalos's throat like a running tap. "Roar!" Jaskalos roared as he stretched out his gigantic palm to grab Roy, who was in the air. Roy turned, avoiding his palm, and rushed for Jaskalos's head, lightly landing on top of his single-horned forehead. The next second, Roy's tail pierced directly into Jaskalos's right eye socket. Blood spewed out as Roy's tail pulled Jaskalos's eyeball out and headed straight for the sky before Jaskalos could react. Jaskalos swung his arm, attempting to hit Roy to no avail. Instead, he slapped himself, leaving his head spinning while experiencing excruciating pain in his eye. The intense pain left him roaring irritably. If he had his stone hammer, maybe he could have jumped into the sky and attacked Roy. But now, he was at a loss with Roy flying in the air. He had already sustained severe injuries, and the newly inflicted eye and throat wounds caused additional blood loss. Jaskalos felt the world spinning and fell to the ground. Seeing the twitching Jaskalos lying on the ground, Roy did not land immediately, fearing that Jaskalos was faking his death. As such, he waited in the sky for Jaskalos's soul to appear, confirming his death, before landing. With one hand holding Jaskalos's soul, Roy could not help sighing. Sure enough, it was still an incomplete low-quality soul, not too big and missing a part. In fact, Roy had never thought of letting Ch11-20 go from the beginning. Since he was a demon, he had to think like one. Had he been the one injured, and it was Ch11-20 beside him instead, Ch11-20 would have made the same decision to kill him. Therefore, there was no need for hesitation. Just execution. Chapter 20, The First Summon. Actually, the reason why Roy decided to kill Ch11-20 was to verify if devouring a high-quality soul resulted in Ch11-20 having a more powerful soul. The reason Roy saw the need to verify this was because Ch11-20 had mentioned that promoting to a middle-rank demon was necessary before he could enter the lower levels of the abyss in search of a refining place. Ch11-20 could have known how to promote but chose to lie to Roy. Of course, it was also possible that Ch11-20 really did not know. Nevertheless, Roy's gut was telling him that the key to promotion was not only related to devouring souls but also the strengthening of the soul. Only when the soul was sufficiently powerful could he become a middle-rank demon. Unfortunately, Ch11-20 had encountered a powerful enemy during the summon, so he was killed and expelled. Although he had returned to the abyss of the demon world, his soul was damaged, so Roy could not see whether or not his soul had become stronger. Thus, it was temporarily unknown if consuming the high-quality soul offering had strengthened his soul. Roy did not know if his guess was right, but he felt that there had to be a reason why demons tirelessly chased after souls, and not merely because of an addiction to the taste. He has already confirmed that the first benefit of devouring souls could help demons accumulate magic power. Roy noticed that his magic energy had already fully restored, and the 0.3 increase had not changed. This meant that the previously devoured soul had indeed brought him an increase to his upper limit. According to the information from Roy's conversation with Ch11-20, a demon's heart stored magic power, explaining why Roy felt a heat flowing toward his heart when he devoured the soul. In addition, Ch11-20 mentioned that low-rank demons had complicated bloodlines that resulted in their body being unable to construct a magic power output circuit. Thus, even though they had magic power, they could not use it. This was not applicable to Roy because he had already confirmed that he could use magic energy to activate psychokinesis. This allowed Roy to understand one thing. In the system interface, the reason why his attributes displayed magic energy instead of magic power could mean that he, this abnormal demon, could not only use magic but other powers as well. Those powers might include superpowers, battle chi, spiritual power, and so on that Roy could use. The magic energy attribute was just a general term referring to the source of all supernatural energies. This was different from the magic power that demons needed for their system of demonic spells. Having figured this out, Roy became excited. Right, since this is a personal customization system, doesn't that mean that I can create my own magic and skills? Since the final consumption is magic energy, there's no need to consider any overbearing and incompatibility chakra issues. If so, then how should I go about customizing my skills? Roy opened the system interface and looked at the 3 DNA functions. His gut told him these two functions were the key to customizing his skills. However, these two functions were currently dim, meaning that they were still unavailable. Is this because I'm lacking some condition? Roy was unconsciously wagging his tail while thinking. Given how the system has to consume souls, the conditions to activate these two functions should also be related to souls. Moreover, it probably requires high-quality souls. Yes, those high-quality souls. Roy suddenly felt enlightened. He had previously wondered that if low-quality souls could be used in the system interface to modify his body, then what was the need for differentiating between low and high quality? Now, he finally understood that high-quality souls were for advanced applications in the system. Therefore, Roy now had a goal, obtaining a high-quality soul to verify his hypothesis. Roy stretched out his claws, grabbed Ch11-20's body, and dragged him down the altar with some effort. Ch11-20 was huge, so Roy could not leave him on the altar, taking up the little space there was. After cleaning the altar, Roy began waiting beside it. From hatching until now, Roy had only caught low-quality souls in the upper level of the abyss. It seemed like there was little hope of him obtaining a high-quality soul here. Even if there was a chance, it was probably very low. Therefore, Roy decided to look toward the other worlds that connected to the gates of the abyss. Roy did not have to wait too long. The magic formation on the altar began to glow and buzz. And a stench of blood began to drift out from the void. Ah, very good. This means the summoner on the other side of the gate is using blood to attract demons. It was good news to Roy. It was important to Roy that he did not enter a world with high combat strength at his current stage. He did not want to end up like Ch11-20, killed, expelled, and returning injured. Instead, this kind of summon that used blood to attract demons was a safer bet. It meant that the summoner on the other side was either a dabbler in a world where the supernatural was underdeveloped, or that their demand for the demon's strength was not high, merely wanting to attract low-rank demons to complete some small tasks. Either way, it was a good choice for Roy for his first summon. But Roy still waited a while, wanting to gauge the strength of the summoner based on the activation period of the magic formation. As a result, a little demon was attracted by the bloody smell while he was waiting. When it climbed onto the altar, the little demon saw Roy, a competitor waiting by the side. Who knew where it got its courage from? But it even snarled at Roy to back off. Facing this insolent little demon, Roy simply slapped it, smashing the little demon's head into mush. Roy grabbed the low-grade soul and stored it. He stepped into the magic formation and noticed that the glow from the magic formation was about to disappear, meaning that the summoner's magic power was not much, so Roy finally felt relieved about responding to the summon. As the gate of the abyss opened, the mist enveloped Roy. It was a mysterious experience being in the gate of the abyss, surrounded by endless darkness, with only a glimmer of light shining in from the top of his head. This light was the exit to another world. Roy stood where he was as his body began turning illusory. His body seemed to transform into a ray of light and fly toward the exit above his head. When he reached the exit, the surroundings became dazzling light, and his body began to reappear. As the dazzling light dissipated, Roy found himself in a strange place, and he heard noises yelling in his ears. "Sook. Seated? The demon has appeared. So scary. Quick, move back." There was a cacophony of noises coming from all kinds of voices, leaving Roy irritated. He looked down and found himself within a magic formation. The magic formation was similar to the one on the altar in the abyss. The only difference was that it was engraved with dents onto the ground, and in the dents was red blood outlining the magic formation. 4 human skulls were placed equidistant around the magic formation, with a lit candle burning on top of each skull. Between these skulls were glass jars filled with internal organs emitting a rotten smell that pervaded the air. A group of people wearing black cloaks were standing far away from the magic formation, looking fearfully at Roy in the magic formation. Observing from their panicked looks, it seemed as though they were in disbelief that they had managed to summon a demon. Roy did not feel very good right now. It seemed like something extra had appeared in his soul during the summoning process, likely the Ouroboros mark. Even though the mark was to protect his soul, it gave him dizzy spells. While his head was spinning, he smelled the disgusting rotten stench and heard the clamor around him, greatly irritating him. Annoyed, Roy lashed out at these people. "Shut up! Who the hell summoned me?